Raise your hand if you've ever tried a food that you just knew you wouldn't like, and then, wait, I didn't finish my question, and you found out, it's pretty good after all. I'm thinking of an example last year. They served rhubarb, I don't know if it was like this rhubarb bread or rhubarb something, and I was like, rhubarb, what is that? It looked slimy in the cafeteria, and I was like, but I tried it and I was like, kind of tastes like strawberries a little bit. So oftentimes we kind of make up our mind about things before we try them. What would have happened, Jade, if you wouldn't have tried something you thought you wouldn't like? What would happen?
You would never get over it or something.
You would, okay, go ahead.
You would never know that you would like it because you never tried it.
You would never know. So being open to changing your mind is really important, right? Well, that willingness to open up your mind and learn about more, that's true in life as well. So not just with new foods, including the things that we learn as we're reading. Please don't play with your sticky notes or your magazine. You can set them down in front of you for now, actually. Okay, thank you. So far I've shared with you 2 questions that we've been using to keep in mind as we read nonfiction. The first one being, what surprised me? And the second one being, what did the author think that I already knew? And today I want to add a third question. And even though this is the final question that we're exploring, in many ways it's kind of the most important one. In fact, when you read with the question in mind that I'm presenting today, what has challenged, changed, or confirmed what you already knew, you'll discover that reading that you're reading nonfiction more carefully and more attentively. So that's our question for today. Is what challenged, changed, or confirmed what I already knew? For instance, I was reading an article about how our brains grow. And I came upon this statement. And I've got it here for you to see. Hopefully it comes up. Hopefully it comes up. So I wanted you to see it. Now, it's an adult article that I was reading, so I just pulled out this little sentence. It says, any athlete will tell you this. If you're competent at something and you start thinking about it, especially at a detailed level, you're dead. You're just dead in the water. And they don't literally mean dead in the water, right? That's a figure of speech, dead in the water. But I marked this sentence as one that confirmed something that I felt like I already knew. And then when I talked to Ms. Hamilton about it, we all mentioned that we do things better when we don't think about them. So for instance, typing. If I was typing and I was thinking about where every single letter was on the keyboard, that would slow down my speed. But I just type and I can go faster when I'm not thinking about it. Or if you're swinging a baseball, if you're thinking about every single thing that goes into swinging a baseball bat, you're not going to do as well. So when I read that, I realized that this kind of confirms what I already knew. Then I was reading this other article, and again, this is more of an adult kind of content, but I thought about it with the same question in mind. And the other article was talking about climate change, and it read, the sentence said, the report warned that climate impacts are already severe, pervasive, and reversible. And that challenged what I thought I already knew, because I thought that if we didn't start doing something in the US and around the world, that we could get to the point where climate change would be severe or pervasive or irreversible. But I didn't think that article made it sound like it was too late. So that statement by itself challenged my understanding. And I didn't want to just leave it there. I felt like I needed to do something about it. I needed to do some more research rather than just accept what the author was saying. And then I came across this other article this summer that actually impacted you guys. Just before we started school, as the teachers were getting together and thinking about this school year and what we were going to do, I read this article in the Time magazine. And I'm not going to read it all to you, but I think you'll find some of it interesting. And so this was a little bit of it, a little snippet. I'm not going to read all of that to you. It was called, the article was called, Is Homework Good for Kids? And here's what the research says. And so there was a lot of information that was given in there. Again, I'm not going to read it all to you, but I want to point out a couple things in there. It said that the research that they did found evidence of a positive correlation, that's related to that word we were talking about, correlation between homework and student achievement. So it sounded like if you do homework, you achieve. Meaning students who did homework perform better in school. So we were like, yes, okay, sweet. That's what I already know. That confirmed what I already knew. But then they said there was a weak relationship between, another study showed that there was a weak relationship between homework and school performance. Okay, that started to challenge what I already knew. Lastly, there was a part that said that some other studies show that homework can cause physical and emotional fatigue. Have you ever been fatigued after doing homework?
Yes.
Fatigued means tired.
Oh, yes.
Tired after doing homework.
Yes.
So in thinking about all these pieces of information that I got from this article, it really changed what I thought I knew. And so when we got together and thought about it, we said, you know what? Maybe we don't give homework. Maybe we don't give homework. And so for the first semester, I didn't give you guys any homework, right? So reading this piece of text changed what I thought I already knew about how homework is beneficial to students. And we kind of took some action on our reading. So I was reading though with that question in mind. What challenge changed or confirmed what I already knew? And there were lots of things that I was able to pull out of that article. And I think it was because I wasn't just reading facts on a page. I didn't just pick out some facts from here. I was really deeply thinking about what I was reading. And then I made the decision. So now it's your turn. I want us to revisit this article, Monster Goldfish. I know we've already read it, but now I want us to read it with this different question in mind. What challenged, changed, or confirmed what I already knew? As you're reading, I want you to look for information that is confirming information that you already knew, maybe challenging something you already knew, and confirming, challenging, or changing what you already knew about goldfish. I'm going to give you just a few minutes, and you can mark in the text. Before, when we were marking about questions that or things that surprised us, we used what did we use? An exclamation point. Then when we found things that were confusing that the author thought we already knew, we used a question mark. And so I was thinking, what should we use for, oh, this confirms what I'm thinking? A check mark. So we're going to use a check mark to mark those spots. I'll give you just a few minutes. Once you're done, turn to a person near you and talk to them about what you found that challenged, changed, or confirmed what you already knew. Action. Go ahead and reread it with this question in mind. That's fine. And you've got sticky notes in case your pen isn't working on the magazine, the texture of the magazine, or you can use sticky notes or write directly on the magazine. It's on page 15. just 2 spots. You might notice up here there's some sentence starters we might try to use. At first I thought, but I had to rethink this. My understanding changed when, or I was wrong or right about this. About 30 more seconds. I know we're not all done, but I want to make sure that you have time to read independently. Down. Try and talk to a partner about those parts that challenged, confirmed, or changed your thinking. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think we're all here, so we should have an even number.
I thought before I read this that the only girls who decided to go in this ball, right? But then when they come to this river, like this real river, all the way over there, they come this big. Yeah, and on another part of the article, it said that they gobble up plant, fish, and eggs and other treats at the bottom of the river. My thinking that I was right there, bottom feeders. Because I didn't know goldfish that tiny can eat fishes and eggs and plants. I can understand plants. But not fish and eggs. Yeah, well, when they grow, their mouth grows. Stomach grows.
Right, but is it that the fish have the oxygen or the water has the oxygen? Yes, that's what I was just trying to clarify with you guys. Yeah.
That'd be kind of weird.
And what I believe one day, looking at that goldfish, I thought that goldfish can never grow. And then with that dark,
The title and then the picture right here. Okay, readers, we're back. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tell me how reading with this question in mind changed your reading. Symphony?
I was kind of thinking about more questions to ask the questions as I was reading it.
So you found yourself wanting to know even more after reading this?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Is that what you were going to say?
Actually, I found myself kind of being more aware of what was in the text. Because when I was reading, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Let's imagine I hadn't asked you to read with this question in mind. Do you think you would have noticed all of the things that you noticed that did challenge or confirm what you already knew or change what you knew? Because I heard lots of people talking about the size of goldfish being a big thing that changed for you. Y'all also said on Monday or Tuesday, whenever that was a really surprising thing you learned about goldfish, how big they could be, right? So if you hadn't read with this question in mind, would you have learned as much as you have about goldfish? No. So we've spent the past few days looking at these questions that readers keep in mind when they're reading. And one of the things you guys said earlier on was that it keeps you engaged. You really want to read it. That's what you were saying as well. You said you were focused when you were reading. I think Declan said that the other day. You're gaining the most from the text. You're aware of all of the things that the author is trying to teach you there. It just makes it more interesting. Am I right? Yeah. So remember, when we're reading, it's important that we are expecting to be surprised. After all, I mean, we're reading nonfiction. They're trying to teach us or inform us about something we may not know much about. It's important that we pay attention to where are those parts where we're getting a little bit confused so that we can try to clear up that confusion. And then finally, it's important that we stay aware of the information that's presented that's challenging, changing, or confirming what we already know. I want you to remember this as you're reading your independent, during your independent reading time, as you're reading your own nonfiction book of choice about whatever matter you're reading. I think AJ's reading a book about sharks. Reading with these questions in mind are going to help him get the most out of reading about sharks and learning about sharks. It's also a good test-taking strategy. When I'm reading a passage for a test, can I use these same symbols to mark places where I'm surprised, confused, or challenged? Absolutely. Okay. These can go back with you to your book box, and you are free to read independently, and you need to go to the library. Action. Liam? You can read with me, babe, after you get your stuff. So, Cynthia and Jay, when y'all pick up the whiteboard and put those away, you can keep the little pads of sticky notes. You'll need them for something, I'm sure.
You got the whiteboard.
Okay.